Hello and welcome back to the 18 Yards FPL show. We've had a little bit of time away. We haven't been on your screen since the first game week. But we're back today to give you all the insight into everything FPL. We're going to be looking at our team that we haven't actually fiddled with much since the first game week, and we're going to be wildcarding on that. We're going to be looking at some of the teams that listeners of the podcast have sent in to us to get our opinions on what we think they should fix and what are some of the strategies they should look at in the next couple of weeks. As always, we've got Aari with us. He's in his India 2020 jersey. Really excited for the World Cup in next month. But getting straight to FPL, Aari, why don't you walk us through what this team is looking like right now, and then we can get to the changes we're going to make.
I think, most of the people who've been following a lot of FPL Twitter accounts, I think we also fell into the Barnes trap. I mean, everyone expected Harvey Barnes to have an incredible start to the season, considering that he did have a lot of easy fixtures, but he sort of failed.
I'd like to point out, not everyone. I was not on this hype train.
I was unfortunate to have Barnes in my personal team as well. So I'm a bit heartbroken because he really failed, and he's put me in a really bad spot in my in the personal leagues we're a part of. So I think that's the first name that I think from in the 18-yard team, the first name that we'll have to erase on the team sheet. And another one is Bukayo Saka, brilliant player, but the team he plays for isn't really in top form. They're currently bottom of the table, even though they have easy fixtures. But with Arsenal, you never know. So I'm not really confident with picking Saka as of now because I feel there are better options in the similar price range.
I think I would also remove Wan-Bissaka. I think at 5.5, there are probably options that are better than him. And Davis is injured. I mean, that's not a big transfer, but I'd remove Davis. I'd remove Tony as well. I'd remove Mahrez as well.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agreed. Mahrez is too expensive considering he's not getting enough playing time as we've seen in the past couple.
Exactly. I think some of the only City options you should be looking at are options that aren't that expensive, because the problem that's always been there for most FPL managers when it comes to City assets is Pep Roulette. And if you get in someone like Mahrez who's 9 million, Mahrez will score, more times than not when he's playing, because he's a fantastic player. He will assist, he will score. We've seen that this season. But he will simply not play enough to warrant that price tag. If he starts, he'll probably get you points. But is he going to start every week? Especially when now that the Champions League is starting this week, is he going to get games in the Premier League or the Champions League? So I wouldn't necessarily go for a City asset that's very, very expensive. Even now, earlier you could have said Kevin De Bruyne, but now that he's always in and out of injury, I would really look at someone like Ferran Torres for 7 million to replace Mahrez here. I think at least for the next couple of game weeks, I think Ferran Torres should be pretty much set because he's playing as a striker. Jesus is playing off the left, and Torres seems to be really excelling, especially towards the end of last season and the beginning of this season in that role. And I definitely think he'll start this week, especially because Jesus is probably not going to play with the entire situation with the Brazilian players, which is just for anybody who doesn't know, hasn't heard. FIFA and the Brazil FA are looking to implement a ban on the Brazilian players that were called up for their national team squad but that didn't travel. All the players that didn't travel except Richarlison, because Richarlison, Everton and the Brazilian FA have a good relationship because of the fact that he went and traveled for the Olympic squad. So, I mean, that impacts the likes of Alisson, Ederson, Jesus. I don't think anybody has Fred in their team. Rafinha, who I think a lot of people have as their value for money option. That's just some of the players that this is going to impact. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Obviously, we'll probably know more when the managers do their press conferences tomorrow. But that's one of the talking points this week. And that's why I would say push finalizing your team all the way till Saturday, because that's, I think, when we'll have some sort of a idea about whether these players will play or not.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, so
like, we just talked about how Rafinha is most probably going to miss the next game. But, I'd still have Rafinha in my team because if you just check out Leeds United's fixtures or in the next 5-6 game weeks, you'll realize that, they're playing a lot of easy sides. And the game that Rafinha is missing is the game against Liverpool, where I wouldn't have expected him to get any points anyway. So what I want a good lead attacking player in my team from game week 5 onwards. And considering Rafinha is just priced at 6.5, I think he might prove to be one of the biggest bargains in the game. Considering that now that Leeds about Dan James, who is going to occupy spot on the right or the left flank wherever Bielsa seems fit. I think Rafinha is going to be given a role behind Bamford, somewhere in the middle, where he's given the freedom to be more creative, where he's given the freedom to be more, attacking in an already attacking lead side. So I think Rafinha is a great pick. Even though he's not playing against Liverpool, which anyway he won't have contributed too much, I think he should be one of the first players on your team from game week 5 onwards. I don't know how you feel about that, right? Because I think in my
I think
opinion,
I
he's one of the must-have.
I had him early on, then I sort of removed him. I think in the last game week I removed him. Um, but I think the fixtures, I think what you always have to look at is players' form and then the fixtures. When you know a player can produce, then you can look at their fixtures. And I think I agree with you in the fact that I mean Rafinha can be a huge asset for that price. I think another one to look at in the same price range is Ben Rama. And slightly lower is Demarai Gray, although I'm not too sure about Demarai Gray. I would probably put Rafinha in there.
Right.
Or
And
I mean, or alternatively, what you can do is you can go for Ben Rama this week, and if you're already thinking ahead to game week 5, and you want to make a transfer, and you're okay with making that one free transfer, then I would probably go Ben Rama this week, save about 1 million. I think he's 6.4 Ben Rama. I
yeah,
save 1 million and then bring in Rafinha um, next week.
yeah, I think that makes sense because Ben Rama does have a considerably easier fixture than Rafinha, and he's guaranteed to start, in my
What are
opinion,
what
because
are
he's
West
been.
Ham's what are West Ham's fixtures?
They don't have a kind run after the game against Southampton. They're playing United. Obviously, now that I have Ronaldo, I won't say it's an easy fixture anymore.
But I
And
mean, to be honest, I think Ben Rama can get points against Leeds. He can get points against Brentford, points against Everton. Uh, West Ham love playing Tottenham. That's always a derby. Villa isn't that tough a game in terms of defense, and West Ham did score 3 against United. So, especially when you've got, as a creative midfielder, when you've got a player who's in such great form in Antonio in front of you, the points are easier to come by. But I think a good strategy here is to bring in Ben Rama and then think about switching him over to Rafinha from game week 5 onwards.
yeah, I think that's a strategy we should go for, and put Ben Rama in our team straight away. And you come to the goalkeeper part of the team. I think Schmeichel for five million is a bit too expensive to have,
Yeah, I
especially
think
because if
I think
yeah,
I think what we should do, and I think this is what I would recommend most FPL managers do, is bring in a keeper for 4.5. I think there's no real worth in having a keeper for 5 or more. I think it's just the most volatile position in terms of FPL, because more often than not teams score, right? I think a keeper keeps maybe 10, 12 clean sheets, maybe 14, 15 clean sheets a season maximum, you know. So that's only going to get you so many points. And the players that do keep those many clean sheets are usually players that play for big teams, and those players don't get save points. So I would probably go for a keeper like Robert Sanchez or David Raya of Brentford, who have been sort of the standout 4.5 goalkeepers for me so far this season.
yeah, I have Robert Sanchez is going to be my choice too, considering he has not the best fixture list up to game week 8, but he does have uh, 3 to 4 easy fixtures in the run of five, in the run of the next five
And
fixtures.
I think my policy with goalkeepers is usually set and forget. Very rarely,
Yeah,
unless they're shipping a lot of goals, will I change the keeper very often. I would just set and forget Sanchez or Raya. Raya now gives you the additional headache of being that point 0.1 million extra, which is kind of annoying in settling in other places. So I would probably go with Robert Sanchez.
yeah, that's the way to go, in my opinion. And now coming
And
to this, I think we should
no, I
already
think
put Ronaldo, because I think we both agree
no,
on having him in the
before
team.
before we
But we
before
have
we
a
get into
clear
before we get
understanding of
into
how to manage our budget, no? Because if
no, I'm
we
saying before we get into Ronaldo, we should remove Foster because he's injured.
cool,
And I think
but
a possible smart option for this week. I think your backup keeper is someone you're not gonna use. If your starting keeper does get injured, you're gonna have to use that transfer because most of the backup keepers don't play. So if you are wildcarding, and this is specifically if you are wildcarding this week, I would probably go for Carson
yeah, because he's going to
from
play
Man City
this week.
because Edison may not play because of the entire situation with um, Brazil. Zach Steffen has COVID, so Carson is the only goalkeeper, and that may just fetch you some points. I mean, in the instance someone like Robert Sanchez doesn't play, I don't recommend starting
Yeah,
Carson, but it just sort of gives you that ease of mind. Um, so now obviously coming to the front line, which is the most talked about player in FPL, um, Cristiano Ronaldo at 12.5. Now, before we put him into our team, because I think we both have agreed that he's going in,
yeah,
and
100%.
we both have him on our teams as well. I think the premium forward options haven't been this wide in a while. You've got Lukaku at 11.5, Kane at 12.3. And for some people who don't necessarily want to bring in Ronaldo and would rather go with Kane, um, this is probably the best time to cash in because he's 12.3. And once he starts getting the goals, that price will go up back to 12.5 at least. So that's an option to look at. Lukaku at 11.5 is probably, I think, in terms of value, the best premium forward because Lukaku, again, will get you 15, 20 goals. And he's a million less than Kane and Ronaldo. I don't think if Lukaku's 11.5, I don't think you really look at Vardy at 10 because if you're already putting in 10 for a forward, you might as well just, put in that extra for Lukaku. Obviously, for me and for you, Aari, we discussed it before the call, it's pretty much straightforward. If you've got the GOAT in your league and you're playing FPL, he has to go in. If Messi was in the Premier League, same scenario.
Exactly.
So I think Ronaldo goes into this team.
And
I think
I was looking at all these premiums that you mentioned, Lukaku, Kane, and Ronaldo. And you know what? I was looking at a fixture list. I think it's really easy if you want. If you can get the most out of all three of them. For example, you take Ronaldo. You start off with Ronaldo. You keep him for the first 3 game weeks. You keep him for Newcastle, West Ham, and Aston Villa. And then from game week 7 onwards, you you take Lukaku in your team because game week 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. These 6 fixtures are really, really easy for Romelu Lukaku to get a big haul in almost all these fixtures. So I would suggest if you want to keep changing your team, if Ronaldo's not playing well, or which is never in question, but in just in case you want to change your team, then I would suggest you have Ronaldo for game week 5, 4, and 6. Then have Lukaku from game week 7 to 12, and then from game week 12, you have Harry Kane in your team because game week 12 onwards, Spurs fixtures start to get a little easy than they are right now. So from game week 12 to 18, you can have Kane, and after that, I mean you're pretty sorted for till
I
Christmas. You're
think
pretty
I
sorted
think
till Christmas.
That's a very interesting strategy, because that not only in this argument in terms of premium forwards, but also looking at, for example, Human Son for Tottenham in that period, game week 12 onwards. Looking at a lot of Chelsea players, especially in defense, in their good run, is also going to be interesting. And you need to, I guess, you would need to start building up towards that from game week 7 onwards, um, for the Spurs ones, and from now for the Chelsea ones. So possibly players that you could look at are Reece James after their fixture versus Man City when he's back. I think he's going to be he's good value for money. I think Alonso will go out now and Chilwell will come back in. So I would probably look at Reece James. I would try and find some way into that Chelsea defense. I personally haven't yet. I'm going to probably switch to Reece James when he's back. But yeah, I would probably look to get into that Chelsea defense somehow.
Right. So we have 12.9 million remaining, and we still have 3 players to put. I don't think that's putting us at a very clutch situation. So I think to create funds, what we can do is we can take out Aaron, because anyway he's not going to play, and put in Brandon Williams, who's 0.5 million cheaper than him.
Over here, I wouldn't put in Brandon Williams. I'd put in Amarte, because he's still starting for Leicester City.
But but the only question I have with Amarte is, once Vestergaard is back, Amarte loses his starting place. So he's only there for a couple of.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you want to.
Yeah. And Brandon
if you want to go with
keep
someone
and
who's
forget
starting every week, so we can go Brandon Williams. But the issue with Brandon Williams is that he's starting, but he's going to get you a point maximum, because Norwich are looking like they're going to concede 2 goals every game week.
Yeah, but the only thing I have in mind is that he's a short starter, and you can just put him in your subs and forget about him for 4 million. Yeah. Because for Amarte, then you'll have to use a transfer again to transfer him out somewhere in the future, and he doesn't. I mean, if we just had to go by fixtures, Norwich have a pretty, according to the fixture rating, they have
a. Norwich has difficult fixtures if they're facing any of the teams 19 and above.
Yeah,
sorry, 18 and above.
But they face Arsenal next, so I mean, I don't want to say anything controversial here, but
if you don't want to say anything controversial, I will go triple up on Norwich.
Pookie party.
So I would also say get rid of Dean.
Yeah, he's a bit expensive in my opinion. I mean, he's still a good player for us. He's a bit expensive. Yeah.
Okay, so let's try and fix up the defense before we look at how much money we have left and where to go. I think we need two starters now for defense. So I would possibly look at a Wolves player, so Nelson Semedo, because Wolves have very kind fixtures for the next couple of weeks.
I completely agree with you. I was about to bring Wolves into the conversation because they have the easiest fixture until I think game week 14, if I'm not wrong. And Nelson Semedo is by far the most attacking defender, and he's 4.9. So I think easy pick.
Right, and to finish that off, I would probably go. Who can we afford?
I think
Duffy.
How about we put Luke Ayling into the squad, and because apart from the Liverpool game, we've discussed Leeds have a good fixture run after game week 5, and Luke Ayling
but then who are you going to start this week?
This week you start one of Williams or Livramento, because as we've discussed, Arsenal have really struggled.
I think that would leave our team too weak. I think, and also the issue I have with the Leeds defense is last season, no matter who they were playing, they were scoring more than the other team, but they weren't necessarily keeping clean sheets, you know. And the only reason we all had a Leeds defender was because Dallas was classed out of position by FPL.
Yeah, yeah,
So I would
you're right.
probably go with someone like Duffy.
Right, yeah, I agree because he's cheaper than Ailing and he's been getting into the
Yeah,
points
and
and he has easy fixtures.
exactly, and Brighton are looking really really good this season, and I think they're not gonna do amazing, but they'll do well. I think they'll be somewhere between ninth and 12th. Um, so that leaves us with how much money?
We have 9.7 left for two players.
Right. So I do think we are going to have to make a cut somewhere.
I'm thinking, to be very honest, I think if we can take out Son, I think he's a
Mhm.
brilliant player, but for 10 million, we can have a more
So,
balanced
so,
team.
so I would say probably take out Son to begin with, and I would say because we'll be starting with three forwards, so I'll bring in Armstrong here for six.
Right. Armstrong is a brilliant player. Big
Yeah, I
fan of
think
him.
I think in terms of value for money, I think Armstrong is your go-to value forward. So that leaves us with 13 for one starter and one. Um,
How
I
about
would probably I would
Diogo
probably
Jota?
go. I would probably first go just put in Bissouma here.
Right. Uh, sorry, I just thought the name of.
And now we can look at anybody under 9.1, and probably if we will probably find players that are much lower than that who we'd go for, so we'll have to get in we can spend that money elsewhere in the defense and in other positions.
How about we get Diogo Jota because we know Firmino is not going to play the next game week because he's injured and he's also Brazilian.
I would also actually that's a good idea, and the thing with Jota is when depending on how what his starting stats are looking like and what his end product is looking like, you can also for a similar price bring in Greenwood, because I think Greenwood has had a brilliant start of the season, and I think he'll really develop well under not under Ronaldo, but like learning off and thriving off of Ronaldo. Now that leaves us with 1.5 million, which I think is a lot to have. So I think we can improve in certain places. Um, I would probably go and put maybe I'd probably give us more money and put in Antonio instead of Calvert
Armstrong.
Lewin.
Okay, instead of Calvert-Lewin. Okay.
I think Antonio is much more than 7.5 now.
He's 7.9. He
Yeah,
just gives us
exactly.
0.2 more. But don't you think if
Right.
we,
So
I mean, Antonio is obviously in great form, but the thing is, how long can he? I mean, he's not going to give you double-digit hauls for 38 consecutive game weeks, right? And he's owned by
see,
51%
I
of the
think
team. So I
I
think,
think I think I think in terms of our team, um, I'd have Antonio because it looks like we will have some money left. So we're not gonna remove Antonio if he doesn't perform for one game week. A lot of players have that. If there's a consistent spell of 2 or 3 games where he doesn't perform, then we'll remove him. So you can keep that in the back of your mind. When a player stops performing, you look at the next 2 game weeks and then you remove the player. You don't knee
yeah,
jerk. So I would probably say, I think if you have a player like Antonio who's performing so well, I would say get him in and keep him, because I think momentum is extremely important in football.
yeah.
So now 1.7, I would definitely say we improve one of our backup defenders.
Okay. Do you want to go back to Luca Digne because Everton have easy fixtures, and I think we should have one Everton player in a team, and I think given
We
Digne's
could
5.4,
or then we can just upgrade. We can leave the defense and we can upgrade Armstrong to Richarlison.
Richarlison, or do you want Raul Jimenez? Because, like you discussed, Bulls have some easy TFT
See,
fixtures.
I think I think I'm still waiting. I'm still going to hold off on Wolves' attacking output, because unfortunately, with what happened to Raul Jimenez last season, since he's been back, he's just not looked the same. And, I think he's rightly so looked a little hesitant to head the ball. So I think I'm just going to hold off on, and I think, as good as Adama is, I think his end product has always been a bit questionable. So I'm going to hold off
Yeah.
on the Wolves attacking outfit for now. And I think if we want to spend this 1.5 on Armstrong, I would probably go for Richarlison.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Everton have easy fixtures, so he
Yeah.
might get on the score sheet.
So, and I would keep that 0.2 in the bank simply because if you want to switch when you want to switch Benrahma to Rafinha, you can do that. You'll have 0.1 left. If you want to switch Jota to Greenwood, you can do that. Or if you want to keep both Benrahma and Jota, and then you want to switch Antonio to say someone like Calvert-Lewin or Ings, you can do that as well. So I think 0.2 leaves you a lot of options. Antonio to Calvert-Lewin or Ings, Jota to Greenwood, Benrahma to Rafinha. So you can do all of these things within 0.2. So I would keep that 0.2 in the bank, and I think this team is looking really good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we should. Let me just confirm on play wildcard, because it happened to me in the past once that I've made a lot of transfers and forgot to click on play wildcard, and I was on -44 if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Yes, I think we're good to go. Make transfers. Transfers. Confirm transfers. Right. So let's just
Right. Yeah.
let's
So
put
for the
Ronaldo at third
starters,
sub. Yeah. Sorry, Basuma. And Duffy
I would probably
in
have
place of
I would
Duffy in place
probably
of
have
Williams, right?
Duffy in place of Williams, and I'd probably have um, Bissouma as first sub, because he does sometimes get into the points, and you can have Livramento and Williams, either way.
Right. And
And in terms of
captain.
captain, I think a lot of people will be tempted to go for Ronaldo, but I think getting him into your team is one thing, and then captaining him is another.
Yeah.
I think there'll be 100%. There'll be people who captain him, and then there'll be a lot of people who are so excited to have Ronaldo back that they're going to triple captain him.
100%.
Captaining him may not be a bad idea, because Newcastle are just they're not that great.
Yeah.
He has the knack of turning up in games like this, finals and debuts, etc., etc. So I would say that's one option, and the other option is obviously naturally Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think let's
who
go
I would
safe
probably
and
say,
captain Salah, just to be
yeah,
safe.
fine. I'm okay with that. But this can go either way. I think Leeds concede a lot, so you can expect a very good game. Leeds and Liverpool. It was fantastic. Salah scored a hat trick in it last year.
Yeah, first game week last year. Right. So this
Right.
is
So
the
that's
18
it.
yards team.
That's it for our team. And now quickly moving on to some of the teams that people have sent in for us. We'll quickly give our pointers on what we think.
So this is the
Right.
first team that came to us.
Yeah. So we've got Arnold, Simicas, Amarte, Ailing, Diaz in defense. So I think we can fix that defense first. I think a lot of people have this issue with first of all, Aari, looking at this team, do you think this person needs to wildcard?
I think that defense is really, really weak, and plus he has. I mean, if he doesn't want to use the wild card, he can easily just, maybe change one of Diaz and one of Ailing and get two 5 million defenders, which I don't think he needs. He needs to use the wild card desperately, because he has a pretty balanced team. He can change it within two transfers. I don't think he desperately needs to use one.
So what are the two transfers that you think they should make? I think Tony, I would probably just, I think if you have Tony and you're not wildcarding, I would keep Tony. He scored in the last week and they're playing Brighton. Brighton has a good defense, but, Tony will get a chance. He may score. I would wait till the press conference, Steve Bruce's press conference, to see about Wilson, but I'm not expecting much. So either you could, this week, what you could do is you could start with Alexander-Arnold, Amate, and Diaz as your back three, because I think Amate will start. You could take out Fernandez, take out Wilson. How much is Wilson? 7.5. You could take out Fernandez and take out. Is Tony 6.5 or 6.4?
6.4. I think they can easily take out Fernandez and Wilson, put Ronaldo in place of Wilson.
Yeah, sorry, they've got 0.9 saved as well. So I would take out.
Yeah.
I would take out, but that'll cost them -8, because they've already made a free transfer.
Yeah, so I think they've already used the free transfer. So I think they've already, if they've used the free transfer, I think they're already. I don't think they should make more transfers, because I think it's just. I mean, what were they thinking using the free transfer and then thinking of using the wildcard? They just wasted that free transfer.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter because they don't accumulate if you use your wildcard.
But they could have. I mean, now that he's already used his free transfer.
For example, I would like to say that I used my free transfer pretty smart last weekend, where I realized that I want Ferran Torres in. He had scored the game week before, and he scored in that game week while I was watching the City Arsenal game. I realized I want to bring him in, and I also realized that his price will increase. So I brought him in before the price increased. So I got him in. I saved 0.1. And those are the ways you can sort of use if you're looking to. But I knew I was going to use my wildcard for sure. But I still use my free transfer simply so I could save a little bit of value.
I think he can just make one change. That is, for this game week, I think he can replace Rafinha with someone like we discussed, Ben Rama or like Ismail Assar. Or there's so many options just for this game week. Go into this game with a minus score.
Or I would say I don't think there's too much wrong with this team. I don't think Fernandez is, just because Ronaldo's there and he's not taking penalties, I don't think Fernandez is going to disappear. I think if Ronaldo's scoring, the most likely person to be assisting him is Fernandez. So I would probably stick to this, or I would already be looking towards next week and make another transfer this week. So you take a -4 this week in getting one of your forwards out. Actually, I mean, you're going to have to get in Ronaldo. If you are looking to get in Ronaldo, then get him in next week by taking a -4 next week and not this week. I think this team looks pretty good. So I think we can move on to the next one.
Right. So this team, I'm looking at this team. I mean, this team is not bad at all. I think the only issue I have this team is one issue, that is Kai Havertz is not a guaranteed starter, but if he starts, he's a brilliant pick. He scored a beautiful goal against Liverpool. It has a pretty decent forward line with Antonio and Vardy. They have Fernandes.
My quick fix for this team would be take out Havertz, bring in Havertz is 8.5, right? So bring in Jota, bring in Lukaku.
Yeah, -4 and the team sorted, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Lukaku in place of Vardy and Jota in place of Havertz. I think that should work.
And if this person is playing their wild card, then I would remove Grealish and I would probably switch Fernandez for Ronaldo as well.
Yeah.
Or Fernandez for Salah if you're bringing in Lukaku.
Yeah, I think you need to have a Liverpool player in your team. They're going to be.
Yeah.
They're a good team.
I think Jota is a much better player in terms of value for FPL. Yeah, much better than Hazard, sorry. I think this team is a little interesting because there's a lot happening. They've played their wild card. It's a very premium heavy team, I would say. In terms of, I mean, they've got Ronaldo, Antonio, Salah, Alexander Arnold. I think the starting three in the back looks like Shaw, Arnold, and one of Ayling or
Amate.
Amate. I think that works because you can have Amate this week and then bring in Ayling next week if you don't want to make more transfers. Otherwise, you can bring in someone like Duffy at 4.2 instead of Ayling or someone else along around.
Listen to me. I mean, they have 0.4 in the bank.
Yeah, so you can switch to.
Yeah, they can easily switch Semikas with a Duffy, and they'll have all the 5 players in their backline.
My issue here is that this person is trying to play 2 up front, right? So are 4 out of these 5 defenders starting quality, or do they need to drop someone like Ayling and bring in another 4.0 like Livramento or Williams, and then spend? I don't think you'll have to drop Son and get in a player to make that midfield 5 workable. So I think when this person sent this team into me, they said they wanted to play a 3-5-2. So let's look at it that way. So we've got Arnold who's set. We've got Shaw who looks pretty good.
And one is a bit weak. The third defender spot is a bit.
Yeah. So I would probably bring in Duffy for Ayling and play one of Duffy or Mate.
Or if now that they have 0.4 in the bank, they can easily bring Semedo for Ayling for 4.9, and that solid back.
So I would bring in Semedo for 0.9, which leaves you with 0. I would remove Son from here and bring in Jota.
Yeah, that gives you 2.4 in the bank, and you put that in the 4.5 of Bissouma, and have a good player for 6.9 or 6.5, maybe Ben Rama or maybe a Rafinha.
Ben Rama or Rafinha. Yeah. I would probably go Ben Rama and then switch him for Rafinha next week.
Yeah. I think that's the best way to go about this. But I think if you're using the wild card, I think you should take Semikas out because he's not going to start many games now that Robertson is back, and maybe use that money on the Livramento, who's a starter for 4. So I think that should be a move, definitely.
So, I think that those are our tips for the 3 people who have sent in their teams. Obviously, we're happy to help you guys if you want to send in your teams in the next couple of weeks. As always, thank you for listening. Let us know what you think of some of our content. We've got episodes dropping weekly now. We've got the FPL show that we're going to try and put out every week. We're thinking of starting a bit of a community which helps us be more interactive and helps people who love football get into the same room or e-room and talk to each other. Anyways, Aari, thank you as always. Thank you guys for listening.
Stay safe, guys.